Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to Remember 11 Age of Infinity. Let's just kick off where we left off, once again. I had more or less regained my composure and went outside along with Utsumi and Hattori to give the rat a proper burial. That's right, we found a corpse, but it was a rat. The moment I went outside, the cold air came crawling up from below. Now inside the snowstorm, I couldn't even see what was a few meters in front of me. Just when will it finally stop? These past 2 days I've seen nothing but snow. The sky has been hiding behind the clouds since forever ago. I just realized how much they could have saved on the backgrounds budget in this game when most of it's just all you can see is snow. The backgrounds could be shit, you wouldn't know because it's all hidden behind snow. It's a good move. Around here should be fine. In the area just outside the front entrance, Utsumi and I started clearing the ground. Hattori eagerly started swinging the shovel downward, digging out a hole in the frozen earth. She soon became covered in sweat. "Do you want to switch?" Even though I offered, she shook her head from side to side. In no time, a hole about 10 centimeters deep had opened in the earth. "Sorry it's such a cold place." Utsumi slowly laid down the towel she'd wrapped the rat in. On a pair of wooden chopsticks, Hattori wrote, "Rat's Grave." As it wasn't easy to write on a thin pair of wooden chopsticks, the characters were a little crooked. The three of us get in a line in front of the grave and crouch down, joining our hands. "Please don't let anyone else die," I prayed. This may have been a little beyond the power of a rat buried in such a shabby grave, though. Still, I couldn't help but try. Even though I'd only been outside for about 10 minutes, the cold had cut into my body. Rubbing my arms, I returned to Satoru's room. I hadn't noticed when I was confirming the time because I was so surprised, but a note had been left on top of the table. Taking the note in my hand, I lay down on the bed. I began reading the note. "Kokoro, this is sort of sudden, but do you know where the largest mountain on the planet is? It's on the border of Nepal and Tibet. Elevation, 8,850 meters. It goes without saying that I'm talking about Everest. Well then, on the other hand, where do you think the deepest point on the planet is? The Mariana Trench? In this case, the deepest point on the planet means the lowest place that a flesh and blood human can reach. Oh. In other words, not an ocean trench but somewhere underground. Do you know where it is?" The correct answer is in the Republic of South Africa. In a deep level gold mine, there exists the deepest hole in the world. The depth is about 3,580 meters. Far out. But you know, I just found a place that's even deeper than that. Inside my heart. I'm so thankful to a girl named uyukawa Kokoro. This thankfulness is even deeper than that deep level mine. And at the same time, I'm so moved it hurts. The feelings in my heart climb higher than Everest. In other words, if the feelings in my heart were to be converted into units of distance, they'd surely reach far above 12,430 meters high. The fuck are you talking about, dude? That's around how grateful I am to you right now. For what? Of course, I'm talking about how you safely got away from the culprit who's after me. Thank you very much, Kokoro. Because I'm a man who's studying the natural sciences, I can't think of the right words to express myself, but far above 12,430 meters, if my feelings can be transmitted through this numerical value, there's nothing more I desire. I was worried about the injuries that were inflicted on his body, but it seems Satoru's still thankful regardless. I felt just a little proud of myself. Well then, no matter how many words I string together, it won't be enough to tell you how thankful I am. But there's something else important I have to tell you. I have no idea when we'll transfer again after all. I apologize for the rudeness, but I'll be changing the subject to my reply around here. I sat up on the bed. This wasn't something to be read lying down. Without thinking about it, I sat up perfectly straight. By somebody. Who did I mean? I put it in the voice recorder too, but I don't know. My answer is that I don't know. Except, I don't think it's Yuni. I don't have any proof or anything, but I can't even imagine Yuni being the one that's after me. And I think I can exclude Utsumi-san as a suspect based on my personal impression of her. In her case, I'm especially doubtful since her speech and conduct aren't the least bit suspicious. Isn't that suspicious in and of itself? The last one is Hattori. I'm hesitant to talk about her in black and white. Just as you wrote, she was the culprit in the Awazumi incident after all. Even if the Hattori personality is uninvolved, there's another more ferocious personality lurking within her. You can probably say that the probability is high. I wouldn't be going overboard to give a warning. Indeed, that's true. Why do you think that someone is after you? Now that you mention it, I haven't told you the details yet, huh? I was on the clock tower when I was first attacked. I was pushed off it by someone. Thankfully, my injuries weren't too bad, but if I'd landed the wrong way, I might have died. I don't know whether the culprit in that incident intended to kill me, but they at least did it with the goal of hurting me in mind. After the fall from the clock tower, I lost consciousness. When you woke up at SPHIA, it was probably a few hours afterwards. That's right, when I came to SPHIA for the first time, I was lying on a bed. Utsumi was treating me at the time, but I remember my entire body aching painfully. That was from someone pushing him off. I jumped into his body after he was in that condition from being pushed off, and if Satoru's body had died soon afterward, I might have died along with it. I'm thankful it wasn't so serious. The next time they came after me, I was in the bathroom. While I was in the bath, someone tried drowning me by plunging my head into the water. Such a thing had happened. To almost be drowned in the bathroom. I shivered. Not from the cold, but from fear. Suddenly, feeling uneasy, I got off the bed. I locked the door. I checked the lock on the window. Because I don't know when the murderous monster will come after me again, I sat down on the bed. And thinking that a hand would pop out from under it, I put my feet on top of the bed. Oh man, not the under the bed monster. I know all about that one. So that I couldn't be attacked from behind, I sit with my back against the headboard and continue reading the note while hugging my knees. Mayuzumi styles. Hey Kokoro, do you know who the culprit is? Please tell me in detail what it was that happened then. I'm begging you. Huh? What does he mean? Do I know who the culprit is? There's no way. The clock tower incident happened before the personality exchange started occurring after all. And the power was out during the incident in the bathtub, as well as the knife attack, so I couldn't see anything. What was he trying to say? I still didn't understand what he meant at all. In the meantime, I continued reading. Sorry the conversation changed direction a bit. Well, that's it for now. The clock tower, bathroom, and my left arm being cut. These three things happen in succession mean that someone is after me. More correctly, someone is after my life. About SPHIA, is there any way to leave? Or are there any means to communicate with the outside? It's hard for me to say, but the answer to both those questions is probably no. If my memory is correct, there shouldn't be any way to leave or communicate with the outside world. I can't say this for certain because right now I'm a little amnesic from the fall. I more or less remember SPHIA, but it might be that there's something I'm forgetting. I apologize for any bad will respond with such irresponsibly unhelpful answers. If I remember anything, I'll tell you right away. About the shelter cabin, did anything important happen? I don't think there's been any big changes. Yomogi-san and Yuni are just lazing around. Only Lin is emotionally unstable, but that's normal for her. There isn't really anything important I have to tell you at the moment. With that ends my replies to the questions you've asked me, Kokoro. I've answered everything that was within my scope of knowledge. After that, there's the timing of our transfers. Thanks, you saved me. Thanks to that, I now know that the transfer times I recorded and yours are more or less the same. Tentatively, the transfer times that I've checked go something like this. 1:07, transfer to shelter cabin. 1:40, return to SPHIA. 6:03 PM, transfer to shelter cabin. -- return to SPHIA. 7:33 PM, transfer to shelter cabin. 8:06 PM, return to SPHIA. Okay, so what's that? That's 33 minutes. This one has no other time. And this one is 33 minutes, right? Interesting, so it's always 33 minutes? Please don't mind the -- in the fourth one. At that time I was in the dark, running away from someone with a knife. I didn't have the opportunity to check the time. I don't know yet whether there's a rule about the timing of the transfers. The only thing I can say for sure is that both you and I both transfer into each other's bodies at the same time. With that, please continue checking the time from here on out too. It's not like we have a big sample to work with after all. And lastly, about your body. Don't worry, I'll protect it no matter what. I take it upon myself to always repay favors. As I continued to read the contents of the message, I felt disappointed. Even though you left my legs open for everyone to see, just remembering it made my cheeks turn red. I think I should tell him to be mindful of other people's eyes as well. And moreover, Kokoro and I have a connection that can't be severed even if someone tries to cut it. I just noticed it now, but it seems that I, without you, am just me. Either way, the fact that I'm me doesn't change, but even so, when you're there, I feel like I can be more like myself. There's a 4-character Chinese aphorism that goes like that. Do you know it? Sikiju Kansei. Red accepts blue entirely, is what it means. Maybe I've been trapped by that phenomenon myself. Of course, it's because you're here that this phenomenon came into existence in the first place, though. Red accepts blue entirely. What is Satoru trying to say? I have no idea. Red accepts blue entirely, as I thought, I don't know. Red and blue, Aka and Ao. Mount Akakura and Aosagi Island involved somehow? Is it about our personality exchange? I wish you'd write in a way that's a little easier to understand. Sorry, that was a little much, huh? Anyway, I definitely won't let you die, no matter what. So try to relax somehow. Believe in me. I'll multiply my 12430 meters worth of appreciation and pay it all back to you. Huh? I noticed it after reading up here. Satoru didn't answer all my questions. About the newspaper. About uni. He didn't even touch upon those two subjects. Why is it? Why didn't he write anything? I don't think he simply forgot. Maybe he has a reason for not answering. Ah, that's right. There's one last thing I wanted to say. It might be rude to say something like this, but Kokoro's drawing was the work of a prodigy. Well then, later. Was it really that good? I know it was good and in good artistic taste, but I don't know about it being a work of a prodigy. I don't really understand, but it seems my drawing really left a deep impression on Satoru. Sounds like he's trying to butter us up for something. Why? I don't trust him. Anyway, well, whatever. There's no reason getting praise should make me feel bad. Harboring a slightly complicated feeling in my heart, I once again lay down on the bed. While holding my knees, I continually take in deep, deep breaths. With the exhaustion having worn down my body, those deep breaths soon changed into sleeping breaths. Now it's on to day 3? Yes, day 3. I feel like we sleep a lot for... I guess there's nothing else to do in the cabin, right? When I wake up, I was in the bed at the cabin. I'd fallen asleep at SPHIA the night before. It was obvious that a personality exchange had occurred while I was sleeping, and I'd returned to this cabin. Perhaps the exchange had happened 3, 5, or even 7 times or more. What was certain was that the number of times it took place was odd. Since I was sleeping, the transfer phenomenon might have occurred dozens of times, as I simply wouldn't have noticed. There were still so many riddles surrounding this phenomenon. By the way, what time is it now? I looked at my wrist, but my watch wasn't there. Satoru must have taken it off again. He's definitely doing it on purpose. As I groped about with resentment, the wristwatch tumbled into a corner of the bed. 9:20. That's 9:20 in the morning, of course. Hearing a sound, I raised my body and saw Yomogi standing before the entrance. He was carrying some fairly heavy equipment. Yomogi-san? Where are you going? Yomogi gave me a fleeting glance and opened the door. Out for a bit. He didn't explain any further. With that, he went out. The nearly dazzling light of the morning sun was shining in through the crack of the door. I held my breath. It cleared up. I hurriedly slipped out of bed and dashed outside. You're gonna see what it actually looks like out there. White, mostly. It was a magnificent scene. The deep blue sky felt so close you could reach out and touch it. Pure white snow sparkled in the sunlight. A great number of peaks extended far away. To the left of the shelter cabin, to the east, the summit went on like a slightly elevated hill. Seeing such scenery made me think about how cruelly tiny my own existence was. The shape of Yomogi in the pure white snow field stood out clearly. Wait, I'm coming too! I shouted to Yomogi's back, but he didn't even reply and instead continued marching on due south. A cold wind shook me up as I cut through the snow. Oh, cold. My whole body trembled. I held myself tight with both arms. I returned to the cabin in a hurry when I became aware that I wasn't even wearing a coat. Where does Yomogi plan on going? He's by no means the kind of person who would run away by himself. Maybe he's going to call for help. Suddenly I remembered. Didn't Yomogi say he would try to reach the crash site if the weather cleared up? Anyhow, I have to chase after him. I went down to the basement and searched the equipment to help me walk through the snowy mountain. Although I said that, I have no idea how to put on any mountain climbing equipment. For the time being, I decided to take the things which caught my eye. I put on a wool sweater as an extra layer and some gloves. Since there was an ice axe, I decided to take it too for some reason. I also found some rope, but it was considerably heavy. With my strength, it looked impossible to walk while carrying it. This much should be fine for now. Next, the coat. The coat that I borrowed from Mayuzumi. Hey, what's going on? Mayuzumi had gotten up. Yuni raised himself off the bed, rubbing his drowsy eyes. Where'd that old man go? You guys can't be thinking about running away by yourselves, right? She spouted in one breath. Without answering, I picked up the coat placed on the bed. Mayuzumi-san, I'm borrowing this coat. Are you listening? She grabbed my shoulder roughly. Explain this. I better save. It's given me opportunities to be an arsehole, and I really want to, but... Please calm down. I'm going to the crash site now. Huh? Yomogi-san said it before, right? He that you try to go to it if it ever cleared up. There might be a radio or something. Is that so? It is. Mayuzumi let go of me. Are you going too? I nodded. Yomogi-san is alone. It may be dangerous. If we don't all cooperate... Mayuzumi snorted. It sounded kind of sarcastic. I'll definitely come back. Until then, look after Yuni. What if you don't come back? Then I'm dead, I guess. I will come back. Absolutely. Mayuzumi sighed and returned to her bed. I'm expecting a souvenir. I got your souvenir right here. Here it is. Fuck you, she said bluntly. I put on the coat that I borrowed from Mayuzumi. I can't say that my countermeasures against the cold are perfect now, but it can't be helped. The weather outside was clear, so I shouldn't freeze to death. Saying this to myself, I went outside. Yomogi's figure had already become as small as a grain of rice. Can I catch up? Hey! Wait! I shout in a loud voice while furiously waving. Yomogi turned this way. Please wait! Hurriedly, I took my first step into the snowfield. My feet plunged into the snow. It's deeper than I thought. I frantically advanced, following the trail Yomogi had rustled, while also making use of the ice axe I'd taken. Still, I became all sweaty before catching up with Yomogi. And yet, the distance I'd covered was just about 200 meters. It's so difficult walking through the snow. I wanted to take off the hot coat. I wanted to drop into the snow and feel its coldness on my face. Yomogi was waiting silently. I somehow caught my breath. You're going, right? To the crash site. I'll go with you. However, Yomogi's face was calmer than ever. He shook his head a bit. Go back to the cabin. Huh? I said go back. Why do you say that? Because it's dangerous. But it's so clear today. Yomogi's look was immovable. A sharp scowl was directed at me. Mountain weather changes easily. It's common knowledge, you know, don't you? Besides, Yomogi paused and averted his eyes. No, it's nothing. But you'll just get in the way. Go back right now. Yomogi's tone was stern. And with that, he started to walk. With a strong pace, he pushed his way through the snow. I hesitated over what to do. What Yomogi said was certainly correct. If a young girl like me, who doesn't know anything about traversing snowy mountains, were to follow him, she'd probably just be a hindrance. He would be too dangerous. But so was going alone. Anyhow, as I returned to the cabin, all I could think about were negative things. I'm not the greatest thinker. I've done nothing but think these past 2 days. It seemed that my carefree mind has gone a little funny. I feel at ease again. I'll feel at ease again if I move at least a little. Oh man, if I go after him, we're gonna die, right? But I'm gonna do it anyway. Run after him. That's right. Staying put like this isn't me at all, huh? Hey, I pulled myself together and ran after Yomogi. We're probably gonna die. I was out of breath. The breath from my mouth turned white and dissipated in the cold air. Yomogi didn't say anything else about me following him. However, he didn't wait for me either. Being a professional mountaineer, he pushed through the snow with quick steps. Even though I was only following the path he formed through rustling, it took all my strength just to keep up. All of a sudden, I lost my footing and fell face first into the snow. It was so cold. When I raised my head, I saw Yomogi extending an arm to me. Thank you very much. I managed to stand up with Yomogi's help. Placing my hands on my knees to support myself, I slowly regained my breath. Can I ask you a question? Since it was never settled, I've been curious since yesterday. About that newspaper, what had happened? It was about yesterday afternoon. About the newspaper which had a report about the plane crash, printed with a date from the future. And then all of a sudden Yuni had said this, that newspaper is real. I transferred right after he said it, so I missed hearing what he said next. That, huh? What did Yuni say? Yomogi shrugged his shoulders. Well, he's a child after all. He probably just felt like playing a trick on you and said that as a joke. A joke? Is that what Yuni said? No. Didn't you press him about it? Press him, you say? Yomogi looked as if he had trouble saying it. Isn't there any other explanation? There isn't any other explanation, right? There's no way it can be real. I see. Yomogi probably doesn't want to believe those lies written in the newspaper either. That's why I didn't want a prolonged discussion of this subject. Yomogi left my side and began walking ahead more quickly. Unsatisfied with his answer, I followed behind him. It was a disastrous sight that made me want to cover my eyes. Unable to form any words, I collapsed where I stood. That's why I told you not to come. Yomogi muttered unpleasantly. However, I could no longer hear his words. I was beaten down by the cruel spectacle spread out in front of my eyes. The airplane had lost its original form and lay broken in pieces. Around the area were several black lumps half buried in the snow. Dead bodies. A number of carbonized corpses were laying around. Their arms were stretched out as if reaching for something. And there were some that had lost all semblance of human form, twisted into strange shapes. There were those completely severed from the rest of the body at the chest or waist. There were those who were like marionettes, frozen stiff. It was but a mere illusion that the silvery landscape was beautiful. At the very least, there's nothing beautiful about the place I was in now. A carpet of white smothered the lamplight of life. The scene spread out before us was a world of death, a world of nothingness, only a heartless, silent existence here. Maybe I'll turn to charcoal as well, and be laid across this world of death. The fear I'd felt from the accident came back to me all at once again, and then I felt it. An image I hadn't seen until now, the image of death, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Unable to bear it any longer, I turned my back to the corpses. From deep in my throat, hot gastric juices began to churn. I tried to endure it, but what I thought I'd turned my back on was in front of me as well. Right there in front of me, a single slender finger stuck up from under the fallen snow. I vomited and panted heavily, my shoulders heaving, but Yomogi didn't condemn me at all. He walked around the area looking at the corpses without changing his expression. I wasn't able to do anything but stare blankly at his movements. A mist clouded my thoughts like a thin veil had been placed inside my head. My mind was completely blank. My body continued to shake from the mixture of fear, sadness, nausea, and revulsion. At the end of his searching, Yomogi was able to find a satellite phone and wireless radio in the wreckage. As I thought, the wireless radio was broken. Yomogi reported each of his findings as if to confirm that I was still conscious. The satellite phone looks like it can still be used. It looks like the newspaper was right after all. There's nothing I can say. I wasn't in any condition to reply. Ignoring Yomogi's voice, I crouched down, unmoving, hugging my knees. Other than that, the search had yielded slightly frozen rations and a one-eared and slightly burnt teddy bear, as well as a few coats that still looked usable. Yomogi also seemed to have found a bag that was checked at the luggage counter of the boarding gate. And one more thing. Oh, this is... What he picked up from under the snow was a translucent black file. Yomogi's expression suddenly altered. With frighteningly sharp eyes, he looked at the contents of the file. It was... our file? My file. The file with the collected information about the murderous monster, Inubushi Kaiko. It had survived, unburned. Even if you'd found something like that, it probably wouldn't have been any use whatsoever. Yomogi continued to read through it as if he'd been sucked in. Did he have an interest in Inubushi Kaiko as well? After a while, Yomogi closed the file. Yomogi, who had just been scavenging with a disinterested look, now wore an expression of suffering. Unchanged, he quietly put away the file. I guess we should be returning soon, he said, walking over to where I was. We've gathered all we can. That should be enough. Even if we've gathered a few things, it was hardly enough to rejoice over. Hey, what is it? Dig a grave, let's do that. Graves. We have to dig graves. Graves for everyone. I mustered my will and stood. Don't bother. It's pointless. Huh? What's with that tone? Unstopped, I glared at Yomogi and saw him biting his lip, his expression unpleasant. Yomogi-san, we have to return alive. That's our responsibility as the survivors, so don't bother. I looked around the crash site again. Aren't they even entitled to a little dignity after death? Must they always be spread across this freezing mountain, their pitiful bodies exposed to the ravages of the cold? There's no way. There's no way I can just abandon them. They should at least be able to sleep in peace after suffering such an agonizing death. I felt like this was also a responsibility of ours as survivors. I think I'll dig a grave after all. Yomogi looked astonished. Ignoring him, I searched out a suitable place and started digging a hole with the ice axe. The snow became harder the deeper I dug. Underneath the layers of soft snow at the top was a hard ice bank. At first I thought that compared to the soil, snow should be easier to dig up, but that was a naive thought. Yomogi silently helped me. That aside, with only a single ice axe, our efficiency was horrible. Even with the two of us, digging a hole large enough to fit a human being's remains in was no easy task. In the end, digging a single hole that could bury several bodies took well over an hour. I had decided to compromise by burying the body that had fallen the closest. The body that was completely black, carbonized and stiff, with its hand reaching toward the sky. I'm going to bury you now, so... My mind made up, I placed my hands under the armpits of the corpse. Thinking that I'd put it into the hole, I put some strength into it. At that moment, the corpse's arms, like those of a wax doll, broke off and crumbled. No. Panicking, I held the black hand I was holding. My spine froze. The frailty of the human body, and my act of throwing the arm away. Even if you try to persuade and control it with reason, the body will still move on reflex. Once again, the acid started to well up from my throat. Ugh. I fell where I stood, tears starting to flow. I went on and on about preserving their dignity, only to end up desecrating them myself. I'd done something so cruel to them. I'm a hypocrite. My resolve was weak. For all my arrogance, they were just empty words. I resented my own pitiful self. You understand now, right? We can't do anything when it's just us. Let's go back. Yomogi neither condemned nor encouraged me. He only remained indifferent. It may have only been my imagination, but it felt like he had given up on everything. His lack of criticism of me only knocked me down even further. The wordless corpses must be blaming me instead. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The tears wouldn't stop. Beside the place I was crouching, the wind blew. The broken pieces of those who were once human began to crumble and scatter, dancing on the wind. Our steps were heavy, but when the cabin came into view, we felt relieved. We still have a place to return to. We have a place to survive in this ruthless world below the freezing point. In front of the cabin, Mayuzumi and Yuni were waiting. They had come outside just to welcome us back in spite of the cold in which they were shivering even now. Yuni waved to us. Seeing that, Yomogi broke into a smile. We're back. Looking triumphant, he raised a hand high, just like a child. Perhaps by doing that, in his own way, he was trying to endure the sadness. Yomogi brought out the worn out teddy bear from inside his backpack. Sorry, I can't read. Clearly. He tossed it to Yuni. A souvenir. This is yours, right? You were playing with it on the airplane. Catching it and holding it tightly, Yuni's face shone. Wow, my TB. Yeah, one of the ears came off though, and it's pretty beat up. Yuni hugged the toy tightly. Thank you, hooray. You seem so happy. Wow. Yuni runs around in the snow while dancing with the teddy bear. He's in very high spirits. And while still watching Yuni, Yomogi whispered in my ear. I think you'd understand this without me saying anything, but never ever. About seeing the corpses? Yes. Though I answered him thus, I couldn't recover so easily. The scene I saw at the crash site is scorched into my eyes and won't go away. I slipped past the three of them and entered the cabin. Well, for me, from outside the door I could only hear the voices. Here. Now what's this? A toilet seat cover. Indispensable, especially for a woman, right? Ow, that hurts. I said I hate dirty jokes. I was just kidding, don't get so worked up. Come on, I brought you some coats. I made sure to select women's coats. Huh? This? Isn't this coat the same as my own? Wow, what a coincidence. You're loyal to your brands, huh? Shut up. Did you get food supplies? Not for you. Why? Because you hit me. Because you're annoying me with stupid jokes. Wow, see? It's Mr. Bear. Let me see that. What are you doing? Blah. Give it back. Well, they're having fun. They lay down on the top bunk bed. I can't laugh innocently like them. Right. I suddenly remembered. I'll try listening to the VR. Maybe it contains a new message from Satoru. But there weren't any new recorded messages. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to think about anything. The reality of the death of 27 people. The reality that I survived. Pitch black corpses, carbonized and rigid. Corpses without a face. Torsos sunk into their seats. Abdomens torn apart. Feet hanging from branches. Their tragic shapes stripped of human dignity. Strewn around, run through my mind. And suddenly their faces change into my own. To get rid of that image, I held my head and shook it. Perhaps I too had become like that. Tomorrow I might end up the same way. Yomogi behaved as cheerfully as possible. That was his utmost effort to not give up all hope. He's pretty strong, I'd say, but I tremble at the fear of death. Even more so than we thought. We're standing at the very edge of the abyss of death. I don't want to die. I want to live. I don't know how long this weather will hold out. I really hope help comes before it gets bad again. Quickly, help us. Hello? I'm TB the teddy bear. Before I realised that Yuni and the teddy bear were peeking out from under the top bunk. The round eyes of the teddy bear are looking at me. It favoured me with a quick bow. Hi. Isn't it cute? Yuni smiled sweetly. My chest tightened. Kagome. Who's that behind you? Hey, why do you look so sad, Kokoro? Do you feel sick? I hugged Yuni. He was looking at me worriedly, tight. It's alright. Kokoro? We'll definitely go home together. We have to live. For the 27 who died, we have to survive. The teddy bear that was between Yuni and I began to make sounds as it pressed against our stomachs. Suddenly, that cry was very far away. Well, Satoru's going to be hugging a child when he wakes up in our body. And with that, we should wrap this episode up here because we're out of time for today. Once again, well, we got some food, apparently, although I don't know what he actually scavenged. If he had a radio, that would be nice. And if he told me about it, that would be even better. But anyway, I guess we'll find out eventually. Thanks for watching, Bruce, and I'll see you in the next one.